Today's scam awareness video is mostly about a terrible ad I found here on YouTube. And right at the outset, I should say that the irony is not by any means wasted on me that I'm making video revenue from ads on YouTube at the same time as telling you how scammy some of them are. It may help to think of it this way. The scammers have to pay money to place ads on YouTube, and if I succeed in steering people away from being scammed by them, that means the scammers wasted their money. Well, a little bit of it anyway. The main subject is going to be this ad, which just appeared in the recommended feed. But before we dive into this, there is a more urgent cybersecurity awareness matter I want to mention first. And it comes in the form of fake verification pop-up messages like this one. These are appearing on various web pages, including fake websites that are set up for no other purpose but this attack, as well as on genuine websites that have been compromised and are running code that's been maliciously inserted there. The pop-up message claims to be from some relatively well-known source, sometimes Microsoft, but here Cloudflare, and tells the user to follow a set of steps to verify their identity, their age, or some other thing. The first step in the instructions is to press the Windows key and R, then paste in a supposed verification code and hit Enter. Now, in a world where there is a lot of current news and discussion about age and identity verification being added to websites and services, a lot of people are falling for this attack because it sounds like that thing they heard was happening. But this is not a verification thing. This is a very serious cyber attack. Non-technical users of Windows-based computers may not necessarily be aware that pressing Windows and R on the keyboard brings up a little window called the Run dialog. This is basically a single-line version of the command prompt window. And in this environment, you can issue commands to be executed by your computer that can do just about anything, including, for example, deleting the whole contents of the disk or locking yourself permanently out of the computer. But this exploit isn't doing those things. What you can do here in the Run dialog is potentially very powerful, is what I'm saying. What this attack actually does is to tell your computer to download and run a malware program, usually something called an InfoStealer, which, once it's in place, will scan your machine for sensitive information like stored payment card details, active cookies for websites where you stay logged in, passwords, cryptographic wallets, and other important data. And it will send this data off to the people who created the malware. They will then use it to compromise and misuse your accounts, to impersonate you, and to steal your money. This is not an exaggeration. Now, you might be thinking, but surely my computer protects me from malware attacks that do so much damage so easily. But the important thing to note here is that if you follow the instructions on that pop-up, you're opening the door and inviting the malware in. You're asking your computer to run it using your system privileges, so it potentially has access to anything on the computer that you have access to. What to do about this? If you're already savvy enough to see that this is an obvious exploit, and maybe you let out a little snort when I first described it, well done. Allow yourself to briefly bask in the warm glow of knowing a thing. But please don't stop at patting yourself on the back. Think about any friends, relatives, colleagues, or other contacts you may have who might not be aware that these simple fake instructions are something you should never casually do. And share a warning with them about it. Remember, for a lot of your non-technical friends to whom a computer is just an appliance, the severity of this kind of attack method is just completely off their radar and not obvious. If it's on your radar and obvious to you, congratulations, you are very smart, but please use your powers for good. Help them. If you are one of those non-technical users and you didn't know about this, the short version is this. Windows plus R on your keyboard is the first step in doing potentially really serious and dangerous things on your computer. Never allow anyone to casually persuade you to do this process. There are, unfortunately, many legitimate uses of this tool, but the point is it's a very sharp tool, and nobody you don't already have reason to significantly trust should ever be using it on your computer casually or telling you to. If you have already encountered this dialog and you followed these instructions on your Windows-based computer, your data has been compromised and is at significant risk. You will need to take urgent action to try to secure and protect your accounts. If that's you, I'm afraid I can't provide one-to-one support for recovering from this cyber attack. Sorry, there's only one of me. If you already have someone who supports you with your IT, talk to them immediately. And I mean immediately. Stop watching this video and talk to them right now about what I just said. Time is critical. If you don't have anyone to support you on this, I will put some links in the description of this video to get you started. If you're wondering about what sorts of things you can do to protect yourself from these types of attack, one of them is to use multi-factor authentication for logging into important accounts and services, wherever it's offered, so that even if someone did steal your password, they would still have trouble logging into your account without also stealing the additional authentication method. Links about that sort of security are also in the video description. Moving on now to the main topic, which is this scam about a supposed cure for eye ailments. The thumbnail shows a person resting a used tea bag on their eye. Glaucoma and cataract gone in 6 days. Glaucoma and cataract disappear. Vision returns 99.7% in 6 days. From an advertiser called Get Health Guide. But it seems unlikely that's going to cure glaucoma and cataracts. Anyway, let's take a look at this ad. On first click, it lands on a web page that talks about some simple and natural method to fight vision loss. So it's apparently talking about a thing you can do. You know, like a change in diet or something. That detail is important, as we'll see later. It also makes the claim that the eye care industry is angry about this thing, whatever it is, because they only care about making money. This is all classic clickbait wording. Before we leave the page, it's maybe just useful to make note of this little disclaimer down here that says this is an advertisement, not an actual news article, blog or consumer protection update. And I think the fact that they feel the need to disclaim that obviously means the thing is going to pretend to be one of those categories of things. It also says that these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA and the product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure or prevent any disease. Spoilers, later on the scam presentation will absolutely claim all of those things, including FDA approval. Anyway, let's click that Watch Now button and take a look.
It surprised optometrists everywhere. Researchers from Oxford University used high-powered retina imaging.
I'm going to just mute the wittering for a moment and draw your attention to this fake video progress bar down here. Look how swiftly it's moving at this point. So it's going to be a fairly short video, right? Wrong. This isn't a video playback indicator at all. In fact, this video is embedded without any transport controls, so you can't see how long it is and you can't skip to the end. That's going to be significant later on. But at this point, it looks, after only about 20 seconds, as though we've already watched maybe 10% of the video. We haven't. This video is an hour long. Now, I've watched all of this brain-liquefying drivel so that you don't have to. I was going to present a chronological critique of the video, but it's so rambling and repetitive that would take forever. So here is a summary and highlights. They make the claim that all eye ailments are caused by blocked blood vessels, and that by correcting the blood flow, all of these ailments will be reversed. And the list of conditions includes near and far-sightedness, cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, and other eye diseases. They're claiming to have a miracle cure that's 100% effective at treating and reversing anything wrong with your eyes or vision. It starts off by suggesting this cure is an odd red root hack.
A simple red root hack you can safely do at home today. This odd red root hack starts working immediately. And it's so easy to do, and the key to stunning, razor-sharp vision is simply using this red root hack.
Again, classic clickbait wording. One weird, simple trick.
The simple but effective vision-enhancing trick I'm about to share. This simple trick has already improved the vision of over 62,436 men and women. It takes all of 7 seconds before bed each night. It's also easy to do.
And it's so easy to do. Right, so remember, this claim is something you can do. It's a recipe for a beetroot smoothie or something. But as we'll see as we go along, this supposed red root hack is gradually downplayed as the video progresses and eventually dropped. And at the end of this long-winded sermon, it turns out all they're really trying to do is sell massively overpriced vitamin pills. Although even that part might be a lie because they lie about everything else in the video. So the vitamins might be sugar pills or aspirin, or they might just take your money and run. They cast repeated aspersions on the medical profession.
You'll be furious the abusive eye care industry has hidden it from you for so long. Or because it was censored and hidden from the public 37 years ago. The next morning, I made an appointment with a local optometrist. He examined my eyes and said I had cataracts and AMD. When he finished, I asked him about treatments to fix the problem. He let out a small chuckle, the way he'd laugh at a toddler who said something ridiculous. I was angry at my eyes, at myself, at the eye doctors who fleeced me for thousands of dollars.
Mainly the eye care industry, but also the mainstream media, academia, and science and medicine in general. Going as far as to explicitly claim that there is some global conspiracy trying to hide this miraculous cure-all medicine from you.
Yet don't expect to hear this on the evening news. The mainstream media works hand in hand to protect these greedy pharmaceutical companies and their $147 billion optometry fortune, suppressing the truth and canceling anyone who dares expose it. The eye care industry is furious with me for exposing this hidden breakthrough. They're fighting tooth and nail to get this page shut down. And I have no idea how long I can keep this video up and how the crooks sitting at the top of the evil eye care industry made sure it never saw the light of day.
His credentials were immediately revoked by the National Council. He was banned from continuing his research And the mainstream media, led by the BBC, then published a series of hit pieces to discredit his discovery and drive him underground.
At the same time as these honestly quite sickening disparagements of the medical profession, they also paradoxically claim that this miracle cure is backed by an enormous body of peer-reviewed research from well-known universities and has been verified by extensive clinical trials and is already widely used and proven effective.
Yet once you see the double-blind studies and Nobel Prize-winning research from Harvard, Cambridge University, and hundreds of other leading institutions, the vision-enhancing trick you're about to see has passed multiple clinical trials and been proven in over 62,000 Americans who now see better than ever. It's backed by peer-reviewed clinical trials from Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, and more.
These things can't both be true. And this is classic conspiracy theory behaviour. They need to convince you that mainstream science or medicine or academia is trying to hide this amazing secret, but at the same time people need some sort of assurance that the claim is true, so they have to invoke the support of mainstream science, medicine and academia and tell you about how it's not really a secret. The medical references they do briefly flash on the screen pass by too quickly to be properly seen, and it's not possible to pause playback to get a better view. Or at least it's not possible unless you do what I did, which is screen record the whole thing for later review. I checked the 5 or 6 citations they made in that video, and they're all bad. In the very best case, they claim that a study concludes that poor blood flow is the #1 cause of cataracts. I looked up the paper, and although it's sort of on the same topic, it doesn't draw anywhere near that extreme a conclusion. It actually says that high blood flow velocity in the ophthalmic artery may be associated with reduced risk of cataracts. So the closest they get to truthfully citing a document is an absurd exaggeration of the conclusion it actually made. And most of the other citations are about eyes, just not about the thing they said they are. They are irrelevant and don't support the claims at all. Most of this bunkum name drops someone called Dr. Sidney Bush, who was indeed a real optometrist and apparently was quite a significant player in the development of soft contact lenses and did indeed do some work on the effects of vitamins and supplements in mitigating some eye ailments. But it does not appear to be true that his work was in any way suppressed or hidden away by anyone, or that it comprised a miracle cure for everything. Their base claim here that blood flow issues in the eye are the root cause of all problems is not exactly disputable. Of course, blood flow is important. Blood flow is how all of the parts of your body stay alive and functioning. But the problem is they've condensed all of that down to one thing they call ocular clog, a term they made up as far as I can tell.
This is called ocular clog.
Ocular clog.
Ocular clog.
Ocular clog.
Ocular clog.
Ocular clog.
It causes 100% of all vision problems.
And they claim to have a 100% effective cure for it.
There is no eye problem it can't fix. And this study proved it works against everything from age-related macular degeneration and cataracts to glaucoma and diabetic retinopathy.
The video has a section of obviously scripted testimonials. You can almost see them reading from the cue cards here.
Things were getting worse and fast. Thank goodness my neighbor told me about Retina Clear. I didn't hesitate. I took it religiously, every day. This is my life we're talking about.
I could barely see 6 months ago. Then I found Retina Clear. I can finally care for myself again.
Just doing this a few minutes each day. I'm now 20/20.
Everything is in high definition now.
This trick came at just the right time. They were about to take my driver's license because I couldn't see at night anymore.
I imagine these stooges are just paid actors. Now, you might be thinking, well, no, what if those people are just telling their own stories that they wrote down to read back on camera? I don't think it's that, because the distinct impression I get from these people is that this is the first time they're saying this thing they're saying. There is a discernible difference, I think, between hearing someone read with scripted notes a genuine testimony versus hearing someone read a completely made-up story they were just handed 5 minutes ago. Besides, in some cases, there are obviously typos or mistakes in the script they've been given, and they just read it verbatim without batting an eye. False testimonials for sure. The only person who projects any kind of aura of authenticity is the main presenter, supposedly a retired surgeon named Jim Cooper. And I think that's probably just because he's got some experience in public speaking.
Hi, my name is Jim Cooper. I'm 74 years old and live just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, with my beautiful wife, Laurel.
I did for a while wonder if the talking head parts of this video were AI generated. There's just something a bit uncanny about it that reminds me slightly of an AI avatar or an image of a person animated using lip sync software such as Hedra. But there are lots of other shots of this guy reenacting bits of his story, so I think the weird feel might just be that the audio's a few frames out of sync. One person who absolutely does not project authenticity is this guy.
The next day, at 2 p.m. on the dot, a friendly man greeted me on Zoom and introduced himself as Nicholas Matthews.
Most people who take it wind up forgetting they ever had vision problems to begin with.
A supposed optometrist whose reading of his scripted lines is so stiff and fake that it's painful to watch.
You see, Jim, thanks to a handful of technological breakthroughs in the 80s, Dr. Bush was one of the first optometrists in the world to photograph the back of the eye. It was incredible, and I was lucky enough to witness it firsthand. Prior to this, no eye doctor had ever actually seen the back of the eye. I watched, helpless, as my mentor was forced to retire in disgrace and his world-changing discovery was swept under the rug.
He's not acting, he's actoring. That is, he's trying so hard to act genuine that his performance delivers the impression of acting, not any kind of authenticity.
That literally 100% of the patients he examined had ocular clog. Crazy, right?
He's also clearly reading a script which someone else wrote because he just plows on through and reads the mistakes in the text without flinching.
We finished the formula off with bilberry fruit, which studies prove protects aging eyes from macular degeneration, glaucoma, and cataracts, and increases vision by 30%.
In fact, the whole presentation is littered with little bits like that. Like back when they're still talking about red roots, the name of the red root is revealed.
The first of these powerful vision-restoring compounds is a powerful antioxidant called quercetin, which is found in the roots of the red root known as Biteriga.
That's what an English person would certainly have just called beetroot, and an American person would probably just call beets. Why? This and all of the other textual awkwardness and error makes me wonder if the script for this whole scam was written by people whose first language isn't English. And maybe the people we're seeing presenting it here bought this whole scam scheme as a packaged product that they are now here trying to roll out. Next, I just want to talk for a moment about lies. This sales pitch is full of them, and not just the outrageous medical claims they make, but there are a few of those. We already looked at the conspiracy theory lies, where they make two contradictory statements. At least one of them has to be a lie. There are also statements that this cure is FDA approved, whereas elsewhere they say it's not.
Manufactured right here in the United States, in an FDA-registered facility.
Can't both be true. Even the bit where he whips out his Bible is a lie. Look.
It took my father's Bible off the shelf. It's my most prized possession. He carried it with him fighting through France in World War II and gave it to me when I joined the Army before college. Throughout my life, I read that Bible to get through tough times. But you should see the print. It's practically microscopic. I hadn't been able to read it in years. That's why I'll never forget that afternoon, pulling the Bible off the shelf. I sat down in my old chair, flipped it open. You guessed it. Every word jumped off the page in crystal clear high definition.
Now, the parts of that scene you watched showing military people in uniform is probably just stock footage or maybe AI generated. But the bit with Jim Cooper pulling his father's Bible off the shelf to show us is not stock footage. This is him showing us the Bible he claims his father took to battle in World War II, which for some reason I suddenly feel the need to point out was a conflict that took place between 1939 and 1945. There's a problem. Well, several problems. For one thing, doesn't it look like this 6x9 study Bible is a bit big to have been carried in a soldier's pocket during the liberation of France? I think so, but maybe Jim's dad had exceptionally large pockets. What Jim's dad certainly did not have was this Bible, because we can tell by the exact wording of the verses that this Bible is the New King James Version, a translation that was first published in 1982. 1982 came after 1945. Then there are the lies and deception about the video itself. The progress bar at the bottom of the screen is a lie. The video is 57 minutes long. The red progress bar reaches the halfway point after about 7 minutes of playtime. There's still 50 minutes of video left. It's just a bit of graphical decoration they added to the video that slows down more and more as you keep watching, to give you the impression that the answer is coming at any moment now, which keeps you watching so they can hammer your brain with their continual repetition of claims. And there is a saying that a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. And although that saying isn't really talking about what they're doing here, I do think that's what they're doing. If you manage to pin someone down and say the same thing to them over and over and over in a friendly, authoritative voice, there's probably a sense in which their brain starts to say, oh yeah, I heard that somewhere before, when before was just earlier, not from a different source. There's even a point where this Jim character explicitly promises that in the next 3 minutes and 48 seconds he's going to get to the point.
In the next 3 minutes and 48 seconds, I'll give you something none of them have ever been able to offer. So please, watch this video to the very end.
Even this claim is a lie. The progress bar on the video looks like it's about 30% here, but we're less than 5 minutes into the video that's nearly an hour long, and I watched it all. And the point is certainly not made completely clear in the few minutes following that assurance of brevity. The presentation keeps on doing this throughout, looking like it's just about to reveal the actual information you're here to see, then veering off on a sidetrack again and again. And this, I think, is a sales tactic where you just keep hammering away at the customer, stroke victim, until their brain turns to mush and they will sign anything just to make you shut up so they can go home. I went to a timeshare presentation once in my youth and it was exactly like that. I didn't buy the timeshare, by the way. There's also a part which, although it's presented in a kindly, grandfatherly uncle sort of way, is the literal script of a travelling snake oil salesman. Here's that part.
Maybe you can relate, so let me ask you this. How much would it be worth to you to finally find a real solution, something that truly works? Seriously, how much would it be worth to you to never have to ask someone to help you read fine print again? To get to babysit your grandkids? Just take a moment and let that set in. Try to be honest about how much that would be worth to you. Can you put a price on that? You'll be happy to know you're not going to pay anywhere near what you might be thinking, because I'm not here to make money. I truly believe God put me on earth to share this discovery with as many people as possible. When the experts recommended, we charged $699. Even though all my church friends agreed, they would have paid double that for the results they got. So even though I'll be forced to charge a minimum of $197 for a bottle of Retina Clear in the upcoming days just to cover my rising costs, you won't pay that today, or even half that. Right now, today only, you can get a 30-day supply of Retina Clear for the massively discounted one-time fee of just $69. Yes, just an incredibly low $69. So act fast before stock runs out and the price jumps back to $197 per bottle. Yet, before you order, I want to sweeten the deal and show you how you can save even more. I'm going to provide a special one-time opportunity to get 6 bottles of Retina Clear at the lowest price ever offered. With our buy more, save more deal that provides the greatest results while saving the most money. Just $49 a bottle, our most popular option.
Come one, come all. Good Christians, gather round. I want to ask you, how precious is your vision? What will you give to preserve it? My name is Jim Cooper, and God himself sent me here to cure your every sickness, save your sight, your life, and yes, your very soul. What price could you put on so precious a thing as the restoration of your sight? $900? Well, I will not take $900 of your money. I'm not here to make a profit, not even $600, not $500, not $400. People, if you act now and take up my generous offer and buy not 1 bottle, not 3, but just 6 little bottles of my patent Red Root Elixir, you can take them away for just $49 each. I'm making a loss, ladies and gentlemen, so this offer cannot last and will not be repeated. Get it while you can, supply is limited. That's right, bring your money.
So, what's the actual product? Well, after this guy rambles on dramatically about each of the ingredients, let's just watch a little bit of that.
Quercetin is a silver bullet against vision loss.
Alpha-lipoic acid,
It is a special form of ALA.
zeaxanthin and lutein.
This one's a real powerhouse. A potent carotenoid called lycopene. Then we added a herb called eyebright. And finally, we finished the formula off with bilberry fruit. Turns out, oranges contain a compound named rutin, which is yet another antioxidant.
Matthews explained adding rutin to the formula was a critical final step.
I'm the last person on earth who knows about this formula.
It turns out that if you pause the video here and did a bit of Googling, although you are strongly discouraged from pausing the video by the way, as I say, there are no transport controls on the screen, and if you click it, the page goes back to the intro. That's done to keep you stuck there. But if you did break away and Google the ingredients, you'd find that there's absolutely nothing special about this miracle cure. It's just a vitamin pill with some antioxidants and minerals in it. You can buy a bottle of similar supplements from anywhere that sells vitamins. And that, of course, is assuming that they actually even do send you this massively overpriced vitamin pill and not actually just scam you there too. Obviously, this scam is targeting people who might be desperate. There are some progressive diseases of the eye that simply don't have any treatment to reverse them, and people facing that reality are likely to clutch at any straw of hope. So after nearly an hour of verbosity, this video automatically scrolls you down to the Buy Now part of the page, although Jim is still wittering away in the background. This sales part is hidden until you've sat all the way through the video, by the way. Here are the offerings. But All of that spiel for what, $250? Why so much effort for a small scam? Well, I think there's something else happening here. In the FAQ on the website, there's this little assertion here. Is this a one-time payment? Yes, your order today is a one-time payment with no auto-ship, subscriptions or hidden charges. Now, this is the point where I usually say, nobody asked. And what I mean by that is, methinks he doth protest too much. I mean, remember that literally everything in the hour-long video presentation I sat through is a lie, including a load of lies they simply didn't even need to tell. I mean, that's true of most lies, I suppose, but you know what I mean. I think this part is a lie too.
I want you to know this is a one-time payment. There are no hidden fees, unwanted charges, or ongoing subscriptions. Trust me, today's 100% risk-free opportunity.
I think they probably will set up an automatic repeating charge. I think once you've handed over your payment details, they fully intend to charge you again and again, and also to make it difficult for you to cancel. This is a very common thing to happen in this category of scams. But if they were going to do that, why even mention it to deny it? I think the answer to that is probably to consider the target market. For some of the people being duped by this snake oil scam, it's probably not their first time. Again, if someone has failing health and is desperate, they probably won't just try one thing. And since this sort of surreptitious subscription sign-up is common in this arena, I suspect they felt the need to promise to their victims that they wouldn't do the thing they absolutely intend to do. One final thing on this scam is that, of course, the website, when you eventually get to it, has a countdown timer. I took the dog out for a walk and left the screen recording going to see what happened, and what happened was nothing. When the timer runs out, the offer does not expire. In fact, if you refresh the page, the timer just restarts at 30 minutes. Of course, I could have discovered that earlier, but I didn't want to risk starting that whole hour-long full-screen video over again. The sales page has a load of the usual red flags for scams, including little badges and assurances that don't really mean anything, and things that look like links to accredited reviews or trust metrics but are just static images, and also this weird little very low contrast disclaimer, basically saying none of the stuff here is true. In summary, this scam left a really bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not one to throw the word hate around casually, so believe me when I say this, I hate the picture this tries to paint of the medical profession and science in general. If you're a member of those things, you are right to be offended by this bilge. I hate how this glibly takes advantage of desperate people facing a genuine life-changing medical crisis, and specifically how they're trying to divert those people away from actual medicine just to line their pockets. And I also sort of hate how all of the production effort that went into communicating and presenting these lies could so easily have been put to good, honest use instead. If you or someone you know is dealing with a medical condition affecting their eyes, I'm sure there are cases where vitamins and dietary supplements might help a bit. Many of those things are very necessary for all sorts of bodily processes, and it's not good to be deficient. But some of these things can also be bad in excessive doses or may interfere with prescribed medicines. So always treat the advice of your doctors and medical consultants as the highest priority, and ask them about what supplements might help or at least won't hurt. And whatever supplement regime, if any, comes out of that, don't purchase it from this ad. You might have picked up that I'm a little bit more angry than usual about this particular scam, and that's because I have some friends and relatives who are dealing with progressive loss of vision and other eye ailments. They've had wonderful support from the whole medical community, but in some cases their condition just unfortunately can't be cured or reversed, which is already heartbreaking enough for them and their families and friends. And this ad's whole existence is just a slap in the face to anyone facing that heartbreak, as well as to the caring and diligent doctors and other professionals doing their very best to help. So I take this scam a little bit more personally than usual because of this ad. Quick addendum from Editing Shrimp. After making this video, I did a little bit of searching, and it turns out that the two main characters in this scam ad presentation are established actors. I'd never heard of them, but they both have IMDb pages, and needless to say, their names are not Jim Cooper or Nicholas Matthews. So these are actors, and in case we still needed it at this point, there's evidence that completely collapses the lie about Jim Cooper and his miracle red root hack cure-all elixir. I'm sure some people might still argue that this could all just be a dramatic reenactment of what is ultimately based on a true story, but I've watched the whole thing and I feel confident in dismissing that possibility. The lies and deception about concrete medical facts alone rule out the prospect of this being merely based on a true story. And some people might not like this, but before I go any further, I should state that for various reasons, including but not limited to YouTube's current and future policies, I will not be naming these actors here. This video is to spread awareness about a scam and help people avoid the scam and stay safe. Do not contact or harass anyone shown or mentioned here. Please respect people's privacy and remain on the right side of the law. Let's focus on stopping scams, not targeting individuals, especially as the level of complicity of these actors within the scam itself is not completely clear. About that, I do wonder what their level of involvement might have been in this whole scam. The most obvious possibility is that these actors are knowingly participating in a thing they understand to be a scam. Maybe they're even the organisers of the scam, or maybe they were hired in, but in it to fleece people on purpose. But I suppose it's possible that they were engaged for their performances on false pretences. Maybe they were told they were acting a part in a documentary or a work of dramatic fiction about a medical conspiracy. I don't believe this explanation's a very good fit for the facts, especially as a large portion of Jim's speaking part is a very obvious sales pitch. But maybe these actors were duped into participating in such a way that the purpose of the performance was not made clear to them somehow. The other possibility, I suppose, is that the talking headshots of Jim Cooper are, as I briefly suspected earlier, deepfaked using generative software for animating and lip-syncing photos and footage and dialogue. The only shots in which we see the Jim character speaking to camera are the ones in this room. Everything else is a voiceover. But if this is fake-generated footage, I have to say that it's more realistic than any of the best technical demos and examples I've previously seen. The voices match those of the real actors, and I didn't detect any of the common tells for synthetic speech. The facial expressions and mannerisms of these two characters are not just realistic, they're also highly consistent with the individual expressions and mannerisms of the two actors that I noticed when I watched their demo reels. If this is generative output, it would have to have been trained on the individual performance styles of the two actors, which seems like a lot of effort to go to just to sell some expensive vitamins. And of course there's always the possibility of detailed explanations that simply haven't crossed my mind. What do you think actually happened here? Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, stay safe from scams, and I hope to see you again soon.